Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we're continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and the Ukraine. So, as I speak today, Russian forces have broken through some of the main defensive belts in the western portion of the Kursk incursion. Now, there have been a multitude of elite Russian formations that have been committed to the Kursk incursion over the last few weeks. Now, before I delve into this much further, it's interesting to read some of the mainstream media information coming out of the conflict, specifically along the line that the Ukrainians are about ready to lose its foothold in the Kursk Oblast. So at the same time, you're starting to see this occur, this Russian counteroffensive take place. You're seeing excerpts. You're seeing commentary in Western media talking about how September was the highest month of casualties for Russian forces. Now, did those casualties come from the Ukrainian Kursk incursion? No, probably not. Are the Ukrainians suffering casualties? Has it been the Ukrainian highest casualty level for the month of September in the war? That's not being talked about. Now, what's interesting is if you read commentary from the UK, the Telegraph. Let me read you this, and you can decide for yourself. The Telegraph, citing British intelligence, said that the average loss of the Russian army had increased to 1,271 soldiers killed or seriously wounded per day. Previously, the highest daily losses among the Russian military were recorded in May, with an average of 1,262 soldiers were killed and or wounded. And then it goes on to say September was the fifth month in a row when Russian army losses exceeded 1,000 personnel. Now, what is very interesting is this next paragraph. Analysts explain the high level of Russian military casualties by the fact that Russia uses tactics of mass infantry attacks known as quote-unquote meat waves. All right, please, let's be reasonable. What military analysts, again, analysts explain the high level of Russian military casualties by the fact that Russia uses tactics of mass infantry attacks known as meat waves. I mean, do you really believe the Russian military calls its offensive operations meat waves? You think prior to launching an offensive, it tells its infantry battalions, its motorized infantry troops, you guys are a meat wave? No, of course not. Of course not. So again, this is very biased commentary coming from, obviously, the Ukrainian side. I mean, that's beyond a shadow of a doubt. Now, what's even more interesting is when you, in retrospect, when you look at the Kursk incursion. All right, let's remove the fact that these are Russians and these are Ukrainians. Okay, we're going to call the Ukrainian side side B and the Russian side side A. The Ukrainians are B, the Russians are A. Now, side B has no air support. They are attacking into side A's territory, again, without any air support. They are attacking over open fields with limited cover, using roadways many times. The side A has vastly more amounts of artillery with direct air support that is able to attack side B's forces as they enter this area. Again, these open fields. So again, side A is on the defense. Side A has air supremacy. Side A has more artillery. Who is going to take more casualties? Any military analyst would tell you side B. Absolutely. But you don't hear that. I had the opportunity to watch a Ukrainian operation, and it was at a T-junction, much like this that you're looking at here. Actually, let's go to a better map that may give you a better idea of exactly what we're looking at here. So again, this is not the locale where this occurred, but essentially, and I think this would be a better depiction of what happened. In this instance, and this occurred in Kursk, you had a company-sized element of Ukrainian forces in which there were about 19 to 20 MRAPs that were attacking in column. There was one Russian BTR-82 here and another one in this area here. Two Russian BTRs proceeded to destroy or damage 19 attacking Ukrainian MRAPs. And each one of those MRAPs contained Ukrainian troops. So that was just one depiction. So do you call that a mechanical coffin wave? Do you call that a Ukrainian meat wave? I don't know. But I can tell you that in that one instance, and you can go out and you can find the video yourself, in which I think when I observed it, it was called two Russian BTRs destroy 19 Ukrainian MRAPs. And it was. And you can clearly see that just one BTR had parked itself at this T-junction. As the Ukrainian MRAPs were crossing this T-junction, the BTRs were engaging them and destroying these vehicles. And then eventually, after those vehicles were disabled or destroyed by the autocannon on the BTR, the Russians started attacking with drones. And that entire column was wiped out. And I didn't see one Russian casualty in that operation. Now, compounding that, you also have Russian helicopter gunships. You have obviously Russian air support, Su-25s, ground attack aircraft, Su-24s, Su-34s, the full range of the Russian Air Force. And the Ukrainians have no aircraft flying over this area at all. So the Ukrainians have committed about 20,000 forces. It's reported that the Ukrainians have taken just massive amounts of casualties in this operation, this Kursk incursion. But you don't hear about that in the mainstream media. You hear about the Russian quote-unquote meat waves, right? But not about the mechanical coffin waves that the Ukrainians are committing to this operation. And again, I look at this, and I look at what the Ukrainians have done in terms of what they have captured. Again, just open fields. They are sending these high-grade fire brigades that could be used elsewhere in the war. Again, if we're just talking, side B, side A, no Russians, no Ukrainians, you have to ask yourself, well, why is Side B doing this? What is the purpose of expending this amount of very valuable combat brigades when you're outnumbered, when Side A outnumbers you? You're going to use these brigades to take what is essentially nothing. It serves no purpose other than to say, hey, look, we have combat brigades on Side A's territory. In this case, Russia's territory. But is it a valuable offensive operation? Does it help the Ukrainians? Other than public relations, no, not really. It's very incredibly wasteful. And right now, the Russians are counterattacking. We are seeing elements of the Russian 56th Air Assault Regiment, the 810th Naval Infantry Brigade, the 11th Separate Air Assault Brigade of the VDV, the 144th Motorized Rifle Division, the 155th Separate Brigade of Marines, the 64th Separate Motorized Brigade, 38th Separate Motorized Brigade, and the 83rd Separate Guards Air Assault Brigade as well. So about 30 to 50,000 Russian troops are now counterattacking. They've broken through the western flank of this bulge that has taken control of potato fields. And right now, the Russians are breaking down the Ukrainians. They've established attacks into the rear area of the Ukrainian salient. They are attacking now artillery battalions and artillery batteries. They are engaging rear area headquarters troops. And the Ukrainian military is in an incredibly dire situation right now. But again, what was the purpose for this? What strategic military goal was accomplished by creating this salient with those valuable combat brigades? And we're just not sure how to even answer that. It will probably go down as one of the most costly and utterly incompetent, most ridiculous combat operations in the war. Seriously. Without a doubt. Now, additionally, fighting continues elsewhere. The Russian Donbass offensive continues. The Russian Donbass offensive has not been slowed down by the Kursk incursion. Now, that was the other line of thought around the Ukrainian operation, that it was possible that Russia would have to divert forces that were operating in the Donbass offensive to protect and hold back the Ukrainian offensive directed towards possibly even the main city of Kursk. Hasn't happened. Again, let's go back and let's look at what is happening. We saw Volodar fall, and we continue to see. So we're going all the way back to the middle part of September. And again, Kursk incursion, same time. See for yourself. Was anything stopped? No, it wasn't. It's continuing. Now, the question is, what are the Ukrainians going to do to spin this disastrous defeat that is undoubtedly going to occur in Kursk? What are they going to do? Now, we have heard reports that the Ukrainians have used CS gas. There are also reports that it's possible that the Ukrainians could be looking at using a mustard type of agent as well. We'll have to see what happens. Now, I got to tell you again, this operation in Kursk, as I've said before, just utter insanity. I, for the life of me, do not understand what military leader decided, hey, let's do this. And this is what purpose it's going to serve. It's got a lot of valuable Ukrainian troops killed, wounded, and is probably, in all probability, going to speed up the course of the conflict. There's going to be a Russian breakthrough in the south or some other area along the line of operations, whether it's in Zaporizhia, Kherson, Donbass, further north near Sloviansk or Kramatorsk. It's going to have an impact, meaning the Ukrainians don't have those brigades to prevent a Russian breakthrough elsewhere. But again, this is a war of attrition, so the Russians are going to continue what they're doing right now. Artillery, air power, slow methodical advance. So that's what we have for today. As always, thank you for joining us. More to come very, very soon. Have a good day.